G'day, it's Christine here from ChrisW Designs, and today I'm going to show you all the different interfacings and stabilisers that I use in my bag making. I thought it was time to do an updated version of this video since the last one I did was quite a few moons ago. It's now 2023, so let's see what's new now and what I'm using these days. So I'll start with the product that I use most when I'm making bags, and that is woven interfacing. This one is EzeFuse. It's a 100% cotton woven interfacing. It's very easy to fuse. It has a smooth side and a rough side, which is the glue side. It also comes in a black for your dark fabrics. Equivalent would be the SF101 Pellin Shape Flex. If you see that in the pattern, then this is very similar. It's perhaps a little heavier than the Shape Flex and a lot easier to fuse, and once fused it doesn't have a wrinkling problem, whereas your Shape Flex you quite often get wrinkling when you're fusing it to your fabric. Here is a piece of quilting cotton with nothing on it, and see, it's very flimsy. So if you apply the EzeFuse, that one here, it gives it a little bit more body and stability. And another interfacing that I have just started getting in is EzeFuse Ultra Heavy. That's this one here. It's a lot stiffer. That's this one here. When it's fused, I don't know if it shows up on the video, but it's, yeah, it does have a lot more hold, whereas that one you can't flick it out straight, but this one you can. So you can kind of see there that this one is more substantial and there's no wrinkling. That is extremely easy to fuse as well. It's just as easy as the regular EzeFuse. In comparison with Decaville Light, this is your Decaville Light. So if we put them side to side, they're very close. Well, this one has the EzeFuse regular fused on first. This one only has the EzeFuse Ultra Heavy on it. So I think if you put the regular EzeFuse on and then the Ultra Heavy, they would be really, really similar. I don't know how this one holds up in wear because I haven't had it long enough to find out, but certainly weight wise it's, yeah, a good substitute for the Decaville Light. And then we have a hair canvas. This is a hair canvas. It's just a woven interfacing that has goat hair in it. Apparently they used to use horse hair in it, but nowadays they use goat hair. So here it is on the fabric. Never mind my scorch mark, I got distracted. But yeah, similar weight to the regular EzeFuse, perhaps just a little bit heavier. I like to use it, it's quite long wearing, and yeah, that's another alternative. It's a bit harder to find though at times. And here we have just your non-woven interfacing. That's just a variety that I found at Spotlight. I don't know the name of it, but it's quite common to find this. Feels very papery, and when it's fused, I don't know if you can hear that, it's kind of rattly and it just doesn't feel good. It's very cheap, but I think I would only ever use that in pockets. I would never use that on the exterior of a bag. If you compare it with the regular interfacing, it's the woven one, it's very flowy, and this one's just, I don't know if you can hear that, it's very papery, whereas your woven one doesn't make anywhere near the noise. It's it just feels a lot better. That just doesn't feel natural. This one feels natural. So that's that one. And then you've got the Pellin 808, 809. I use it at the top of card slots at times, but these days I'll often just use the Decaville Light instead, so I don't need to carry so many products, but it's not one that I use a lot of, but I have used it. Some people use it in their wallets, but I don't find it has enough body for that. I much prefer my Decavilles. Here we have, well, that's Decaville Light. You can see it's soft and flowy. If you compare that with the EzeFuse Ultra Heavy, and you see them just as a product, they're very similar in weight. The Decaville Heavy is quite a bit more substantial than the Decaville Light, and here we have them fused on some fabric. That's Decaville Light, that's Decaville Heavy. You can see that the Decaville Light is a little bit more flimsy than the Decaville Heavy. This is great in the bottom of your bags. I tend to use that in areas where I might want some extra support, like in my Daryl's Drive bag. I used to use Peltex, but I find this product is much better. This is your Peltex. It tends to wrinkle, and you might be able to see that in the video that it's already wrinkling there. It's nowhere near as good a quality product as the Decaville Heavy. It's good in the bottom of bags. It's quite stiff and rigid, but if I had to carry just one product, I would only have that one. I wouldn't bother with the Peltex. It's a lot harder to fuse the Peltex than it is the Decaville. The Decaville is easier to fuse, and once it's fused it just doesn't come away. Same with the Decaville Light. The main thing to do when you fuse those two is, once they're fused, you do not move your work for half an hour or so. Allow it to set and cool properly, and if you do that, I have never had an issue with the Decaville product coming away from the fabric. Peltex, yeah, it's not the best quality product. I mainly use the Decaville Heavy in my wallets now. A lot of people use the Decaville Light, but I like the extra oomph that the Decaville Heavy gives your wallet. It just feels more substantial, but it's a personal preference thing. Then we have our foams. We have our Biani Soft and Stable, and this one is Matilda's own sew-in foam. It's also known as Bosal or Bosal foam, or same as Bosal or Bosal foam. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. We have them here. This one is the Biani Soft and Stable. This one here is your Matilda's own. Here in Australia, this one is cheaper than the Biani Soft and Stable, but in use I don't really notice much difference between the two. If anything, it might be a little bit more substantial than the Biani Soft and Stable, a little bit more denser perhaps, but when you've made the bags I really can't notice much difference. Then the other option is your headliner foam, but that's more flimsy. As you can see, it just doesn't hold its shape, doesn't stand up and stay rigid like the other foams, the other two foams, but it is a cheaper option if you're on a budget. I always add interfacing to the fabric before I add the foam. Some people don't, but I like the extra oomph that the interfacing gives it. There are two ways that I apply foam. I either zigzag it in around the edges of my pattern piece, and then once I've assembled it I zigzag it again, or use straight stitch and flatten it down inside the seam. I don't trim it away. That's one method. The other method is that I'll baste it on with a really long straight stitch, and then once I've sewn the bag I remove that long straight stitch. If you use the longest stitch on your machine it's really easy to remove, and then I will trim the foam out of the seam allowance altogether. It gives a nicer finish. It's more fiddly than doing it this way, so yeah, if you want the best finish, I recommend doing this way and trimming it out of your seams. If you're making a bag in a hurry and you just want it done and dusted, I recommend you baste it on and with zigzag, and then once you've sewn your seam, flatten it again with more zigzags or straight stitch. It does make a very strong bag when you do it that way, that's for sure. The headliner, I would do either method, but yeah, it just doesn't have the same hold as the other foams. Another product to look at is the stiff stuff. This one here, it's a sew-in product, or I like to actually put it in after I've turned my work. It's it just tends to bounce back to whatever shape that it's meant to be in. A lot of people use it in placemats. I have it in my Chloe's Court clutch, and it tends to develop a memory after a while, and it sits really good. Another similar product is Matilda's Own Bag Batting. It's similar in that it just bounces back to the original shape. It doesn't stay crushed no matter what you do, it just bounces back. So that's pretty good in tote bags. Here we have our fusible fleeces. There's two main ones that I use, a thicker one and a thinner one. This one's Thermolam Plus. This one is 987F. They're both fusible. The rough side is the glue side. This is what they look like when they're fused. So that's your thicker one there, and that's the thinner one. They're both, yeah, they hold up quite good. They don't seem to have a wrinkling problem. There's another option, which is the Vilene products. This is the H630. It's quite thin, probably very similar to this one here, but it's the way it's made, I think, is a bit different. This is a bit more lofty. This is more dense. There is a 640 as well, and it's more like this product here, like the Thermolam Plus. So they are another option. The Vilene products here in Australia are a bit more expensive than the other two fleeces that I use, so I don't really tend to use it all that much anymore. Another option is to combine it with your Decaville Light to give a bit more oomph, which is something I like to do sometimes, depends on the bag though. Another product that I've just got in to give it a try is a product that is a self-adhesive fleece. This one is from Sunkist Melbourne, called Smackdown Fleece, and as the name suggests, you just cut out your pattern piece, peel off the backing and smack it down. It looks quite good. This is on vinyl, which is really handy to have the ability to just stick it in place instead of fusing it. You don't have to run the risk of melting your vinyl, and yeah, it actually looks and feels quite good there. On the quilting cottons, this is the thinner version, probably very similar to the lighter fleece, fusible fleece, maybe just a little bit thicker. And then that's the thick version. It's quite substantial, doesn't really compare with the other fleece. Even the Thermolam Plus is not that stiff. This is more stiff. It's definitely more stiff, has more body. I have not used it long enough to find out how it holds up in wear and whether it has a wrinkling problem after you've used it for a while. That's something I can only tell you after I've used it for a few months to see, but I've certainly heard good things about it, especially with the vinyls. People seem to really enjoy using it on the vinyls and faux leathers and real leathers, so that's something I'm definitely going to be checking out and using it for. So there you have it, a rundown on the interfacings and stabilisers that I'm currently using in my bag making, and a couple of new ones that I'm going to be experimenting with in the near future. I do suggest, if you're a new bag maker, that you stick to the recommendations in the pattern. Us designers spend a lot of time and money experimenting with different products and different combinations to achieve the look that's in the cover photo. Let's face it, when you make a bag, you're putting in a lot of time and effort. Please don't use cheap interfacings and stabilizers. It's just not worth it. Your results will not be as good as if you use a quality product in the first place, and they will not last if you don't use a quality product. So I always recommend you use a good quality product. Ask me how I know. Been there, done that. Especially in my beginning days, I thought, oh yeah, why do I need such an expensive stabilizer? I'll use something cheaper. Doesn't look like the bag in the cover photo. No, it's a bit of a letdown. I also have an interfacing and stabilizer guide in the links below, which you can download. It will name different products that are similar. They're not all identical, but they are good to substitute when you can't get the product that's listed in the patent. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and ring that bell to be notified of any new videos as I add them, and hit the like button. And we'll catch you later.